So first off, the macro market, the growth stocks sort of had a bit of a comeback last week.
I don't want to say that the issues have gone away with kind of concerns around, COVID and inflation and all these macro things, but I think you're starting to see some of that kind of big pile of cash that had been sitting on the sidelines just slowly start to dip the toe back in.
This could just be one of those month pullbacks, and then we're back off to the races soon, or we'll see. Next month could be another pullback even. It's hard to say, but big picture, we're very bullish on it. Roblox, if it comes down again, maybe some like short-term options could look interesting to buy for quarterly 4 reporting. If they don't publish it before then it'll be published then how much bookings they've taken in December.
It's probably worth looking at prices and seeing if there's something there.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. Anyway, Rocket Lab, the warrants, that was sort of a surprise. It just came in out of nowhere.
I didn't think they would, call those back as early as they did. It was like a 25% drop in the price of the warrants overnight, something pretty drastic like that. I believe they expire in January 22nd. There's a conversion ratio in the warrant agreement, which essentially states that if it's more than 60 months until the expiration, there's a kind of a set conversion ratio based on a weighted average price for like a 10-day period after the announcement. Just make sure that you are looking at all those options and are choosing the one that's best for you and actually executing those before that expiry comes up. Rocket Lab, wants to use those as a source of cash, to fund a lot of the development that they've got going on for Neutron and other things.
Peter Beck, by the way, did several interviews in the last week or so that got published like all at the same time about the Neutron. The one thing that really stuck out to me that was impressive was that he understood, or the point that he made, that in designing and building a larger rocket is way easier than a small rocket. How he substantiated it was that, like, hey, if you have a small rocket like Electron, every gram really matters.
That comment that you just said reminded me of something I think Elon said in a recent interview also, where he was talking about that exact same concept. He's saying, like the avionics you need on a small, call it Electron size or Falcon 1 size rocket is like exactly the same, whether you're doing, that or like a Starship. What Peter Beck wants to do is be the low cost provider with very quick turnaround time to a very customer specific orbit. I think there's room for Neutron to really compete and do well there.
I guess the next thing is Elon and Tesla. I think there's going to be an interview released by Lex Friedman today of him interviewing Elon. I'm looking forward to that. More technicals on self-driving and the technology around that, I'm sure, will be discussed. The Q4 delivery estimates, what are your thoughts on that?
It's seeming more likely than not that there are some kind of supply constraints in Shanghai right now, kind of limiting production.
I think it still will be a strong print, and I think they are doing a lot of deliveries end of quarter now. A lot less people are delaying their deliveries than they otherwise would have if the Build Back Better had passed. At some point, if it's a good growth tech stock, it turns into a value stock. You can kind of see the value starting to come into place here with high margins and large revenues growing, 20% quarter over quarter, not just like year over year. One quarter to the next quarter, the revenues are up like, 15 or 20%. If you can take any kind of metric, even if it's out of context, and create panic in the minds of people so that they click on it, that's going to happen.
It's actually just this week, I think, China, that they're bringing down the foreign ownership rules for manufacturing EVs in China. It's a good sign, I think, that we've seen a lot of kind of clamping down in the last 3, 4, 5 months from China within certain industries, and I don't think there's as large of a catastrophic risk in an industry like EVs, where they're trying to attract foreign investment and innovation and really trying to pursue a national objective by strengthening this industry.
We don't think Rocket Lab is going to take over that role, but we do think they'll be a second place to SpaceX, and a clear second place.
The more difficult thing to do and the more uncertain thing to do is to look out 5, 10 years and say, okay, how will their technology allow them to compete in the market of 2025, let's say, or 2027? And then what are their other kind of avenues for growth outside of their core business? We think that there's enough room to kind of grow that, the operations will continue to justify, pretty steep share price increases from here.